Scimitar rent! Oh, did you see that? Easy money all night long! Come on! No, it's not over yet. Let's go! Scout salvo! Firefight!
Go noisy!
Underguard, huh? Shot this! Get in there! Shogun Trinity! Let's finish him. Gravity slam! Uptown! Son of a bitch's baby! Get up! Full metal feud! Bring it! Southpaw Pain Revolution! I got something for you. Don't you run from me! You can't run from me! I got something!
Hey, Adrenalheads, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Rob.
And this episode, we are covering the movie Real Steel from 2011. This movie was directed by Shawn Levy, who has done a multiple amount of movies that we all are familiar with. Night at the Museum, Free Guy. He's doing the upcoming Deadpool 3 movie in 2024, The Atom Project, a whole bunch. He's very well known. A lot of his other movies, previous movies, were a lot of comedies because it was the Night at the Museum stuff and Cheaper by the Dozen and Internship, if you remember that, with Vince Vaughn. And those movies were pretty fun. But yeah, he did this particular movie and we really enjoyed it. And that's what the whole point of this discussion is. It was produced by Shawn Levy, Susan Montford, and Don Murphy. Executive producer was Steven Spielberg. The movie was written by John Gattens, Dan Gilroy, and Jeremy Levin. So the story is based on a short story called Steel, written by Richard Matheson, which was originally published in the May 1956 edition of the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction, and later adapted into a 1963 Twilight Zone episode. I did not see that episode, unfortunately.
I didn't know it was adapted into a Twilight Zone episode, and I'm going to try and find it.
Yeah.
Up until recently, I thought this was Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
I already forewarned Rob that you would not like that comment.
No, you know what? It's a totally fair comment because I'll be completely honest with you. When this movie first came out, when I first saw trailers for this movie, before I had seen the movie, I said the same exact thing. I was like, this looks like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie.
And especially at the time that it came out, because I was telling Mark about it, at the time that it came out, there was a lot of movie studios doing movies based on board games. So there was Battleship, which, was based off the Battleship board game. And then when this came out, I was like, really? Rock'em Sock'em Robots? But did not know that this was based off of a different story. But when I saw the movie, I was like, you know what? Out of all the board games, this is the best one.
There's a part of me that enjoyed Battleship. It's a small part, but
yeah,
there's a part of me that enjoyed it.
Well, to add to what Richard Matheson has already done, I have it in my other notes, but I'm going to state it now. We have covered another movie that was based on Matheson's work here on this particular podcast, which was Omega Man from 1971 that Jerry Gomez and I had covered a long time ago, which was also adapted as well, originally from the title of that movie, which was I Am Legend with Will Smith eventually later on in years. But
and
this is
soon to be again.
Yeah. This is just another piece of Matheson's work that was adapted to screenplay and story. But it's interesting. So, yeah, the music in this particular movie, Rob got a good chuckle about it because he just covered him on his particular podcast. It was done by Danny Elfman, and he was chosen to compose the film score as Levy felt that he would be one of the few composers who could do a score similar to that of the Rocky franchise, which literally the movie is reminiscent to that with that feel throughout the story.
I would have never in a million years listened to the score of this movie and said, this sounds like Danny Elfman.
It doesn't sound anything like Danny Elfman,
No.
I think. Yeah.
It doesn't at all.
He has basically two ways of doing things. I mean, he's a phenomenal composer.
Agreed.
But whenever he gets together with
Tim Burton
lets him fly. And of course, Tim Burton having his own style of directing and more of the goth kind of, type of things that he does, I think Danny Elfman loves to do that kind of stuff. But as soon as Danny Elfman gets into like these type of movies, you can't really tell that it's his. And Mark, you said that they wanted him to do something like Rocky. No. This was nowhere near that. Rocky, until this day, that's an iconic soundtrack.
Yeah, that's
and this is not there.
No, this is they alternate. It's alternating guitar-based ambient music and songs with full orchestra in this one. They say so, but also you could hear it too if you watch the movie, and you could feel the swells, and it has that energy to it, like Rocky.
Oh, it does,
but
yeah.
It's honestly, it's not like a Rocky score in my opinion.
I would have never said, "Oh, this sounds like Rocky."
Yeah, exactly. No. The only comparison would be the boxing.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The tagline for this movie, if you get one shot, make it real. Courage is stronger than steel.
I love this movie, but that is a horrible tagline.
But that's the one that they were playing on. The movie budget was $80 million and /110 million USD. It made $299.3 million. So
in today's world, that's a failure.
Well, now
at the time it was successful.
12 years later, yes, that would be considered a failure.
Well, nowadays, I think like unlike in the past where, of course, advertising budget was a lot less. Now that it's a lot more, you have to triple your money instead of double your money in order for them to consider it to be a success.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to factor in everybody's
it's no longer making your money back. Like now you have to, double to triple what you spent for it to be successful.
Correct.
Yeah. The synopsis of this particular movie, if you've been living under a rock and haven't seen the movie, why are you here anyway? But
don't chase him away, Mark.
Chase him away.
I said, no, don't chase him away.
Charlie Kenton, who played by Hugh Jackman, used to be a prize fighter, but lost his chance to win a title when heavy, towering robots took over the boxing ring. Now working as a small-time promoter, Charlie pieces together scrap metal into low-end fighters, barely earning enough to make it from one underground venue to the next. After hitting rock bottom, Charlie reluctantly teams with his estranged son, Max, played by Dakota Goyo, to build and train a championship robot for the last shot at redemption. Kind of vague, because it doesn't have a bulk of what the story is. They don't go into...
he's a deadbeat dad?
Change. Now working as a small-time promoter to a small-time con man.
Yeah.
Fits better. Pieces together scrap metal. Yeah. Spends ill-gotten gains to buy a robot, to buy a championship robot, because he didn't put that one together. Sells his son. That should be in there.
So basically, in this movie, there's human trafficking.
Now who's telling people to go away? I don't want to watch this. They talk about human trafficking.
No, that adds more intrigue, Mark. Now they should be all in at this point. Human trafficking.
Child endangerment. Come on.
Yeah,
there's a lot of child endangerment.
Really? Yeah.
When we go into more detail, there's a scene where Max basically almost dies.
Yes.
Very true. More than one, actually, if you think.
Yeah, there's
about
two. There's two scenes where Max almost dies.
Yes.
All right. Here's something that we always go into. People that
But
we
it-
may know within the film that we've seen before. So, Ben, take it away.
Oh, of course, you picked me for this one. Hugh Jackman, who plays Charlie Canton. We know Hugh Jackman, obviously, from so many movies. Best known as Wolverine in the Fox Disney movie series X-Men that ran from 2000 to 2017. Actually, let's update that because he's going to be coming back for Deadpool 3.
Yeah.
So to 2000 to 2024. Last official film, though, was Logan in 2017, which, in my opinion, is a pretty close to perfect superhero movie.
Yeah.
Swordfish in 2001, The Prestige in 2006, and one of my personal favorites, The Greatest Showman from 2014.
Yeah. I'll take the next one, and then Rob, you could take the other.
Sure.
Next one up would be Dakota Goyob, who plays Max Kenton. He's a Canadian former actor. He's best known for playing Max Kenton on the film Real Steel in 2011 and Jesse Barrett in the film Dark Skies in 2013. He also voices Jamie Bennett in the DreamWorks animation film Rise of the Guardians in 2012.
I'm so glad you have former after Canadian and before actor. Because had it said a former Canadian actor, I would have been, oh, which one is he former? Is he no longer Canadian?
Well, you never know. Now these days, people just come to America and say, I'm going to be a citizen.
True.
Hey, listen, man. I don't want to get political, but the way things are going, maybe people want to go back to Canada. I want to go back to I want to go to Canada.
I've had thoughts about going to Canada. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
They got free healthcare. All right.
not really free. You pay it out of your taxes.
Well.
Anyway.
Next up, Rob.
Also Evangeline Lilly. She plays Bailey Talbot. I think that's the way you pronounce that name. A Canadian actress and author. She gained popularity for her leading role as Kate Austen in the ABC drama series Lost, which garnered her a nomination for the Golden Globe Awards and Best Actress in a drama series. Lilly has also appeared in the war film The Hurt Locker and sports drama Real Steel.
Wait,
and
she's in Real Steel?
and has starred as Tyrell or something like that in Peter Jackson's The Hobbit films.
Toriel.
Okay. Yeah. As you could tell, I'm not a big Hobbit fan there.
I'm a nerd. I'll happily put it out there.
Appearing in the Desolation of Smog and the Battle of the Five. Is that supposed to be realms?
5 armies.
It's 5 armies. Yeah.
Is it? Okay. I don't know. The font on my screen is actually scrunching everything together. She has portrayed Hope Van Dyne in the MCU and beginning of Ant-Man until what is it? Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
Mm-hmm.
Lily. And Lily's also an author of a children's book series, the Squicker Wonkers.
You got it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, she yeah. Okay.
And a very lovely human being. I will throw that in since
Yeah.
I have met her and she is very lovely.
Next one, Ben.
Kevin Durand, who plays Ricky, another Canadian actor. A lot of Canadians in this. He is best known for portraying Vasily Fett in The Strain, Joshua in Dark Angel, Martin Keamy in Lost, another Lost alum, Fred J. Dukes, The Blob in X-Men Origins, Wolverine. We don't talk about that movie. Barry Burton in Resident Evil Retribution, Gabriel in Legion, Little John in Robin Hood, Jeeves Tremor in Smoking Aces, and Carlos in The Butterfly Effect. He has also been a multiple-time guest on a podcast called Wilhelm, but we'll get to that later. He received a 2012 Best Supporting Actor Genie nomination for his portrayal of Lenny Jackson in Citizen Gangster.
Cool. Next up will be Anthony Mackie, and he plays the character Finn. He's, of course, an American actor who, as we all know, Mackie made his film debut starring in the semi-biographical drama film 8 Mile in 2002. He was later nominated for an Independent Spirit Award for Best Actor for his performance in the LGBTQ drama Brother Candidates, the Spike Lee TV film Sucker Free City, and the sports film $1 Million Baby. Mackie starred in Half Nelson 2006. 2008, Mackie both appeared in the action thriller Eagle Eye and was nominated for the Independent Spirit Award for Best Supporting Actor for his performance in The Hurt Locker. He portrayed Tupac Shakur in Notorious in 2009 and later starred in Night Catches Us in 2010 and The Adjustment Bureau and Real Steel both in 2011. So he had 2 movies that came out the year. Okay. He achieved global recognition for portraying Sam Wilson /Falcon /Captain America in the MCU, beginning with the film Captain America the Winter Soldier in 2014 and most recently starring in Disney Plus miniseries Falcon and the Winter Soldier that came out in 2021. He is set to lead in his own film titled Captain America Brave New World 2024, which might change its name, who knows, because MCU is changing a lot of things.
Well, it's already changed its year. It's now 2025.
Yeah. During this period, Mackie also starred in the period crime film Detroit 2017, The Hate You Give in 2018, and the horror film Synchronic in 2019, and The Banker in 2020. So, yeah, we're all familiar with Anthony.
Very familiar. Hope Davis, who plays Aunt Deborah, is an American actress. She is known for her performances on stage and screen, earning various awards and nominations, including a Tony Award nomination, 3 Primetime Emmy Award nominations, and 2 Golden Globe Award nominations. She made her film debut in Joel Schumacher's Flatliners in 1990. She then starred in the critically acclaimed films Day Trippers in 1996, About Schmidt 2002, Infamous 2006, and Asteroid City 2023. I actually saw that movie. Pretty good.
I did too. I really enjoyed it.
That was a great movie, yeah. She received a Golden Globe Award for Best Supporting Actress Motion Picture nomination for her role in American Splendor. She received an Independent Spirit Award with the cast of Cynic Douche. I don't know how the hell to even pronounce that. New York, 2008. In 2016, she joined the Marvel Cinematic Universe, portraying Tony Stark's mother, Maria Stark, in Captain America: Civil War.
So we have another MCU alum.
Another MCU, yeah.
That makes 6 or 5?
5 so far.
James Rebhorn, who played Marvin, Aunt Deborah's husband, was an American actor who appeared in over 100 films, television series, and plays. At the time of his death, he had reoccurring roles in the series White Collar and Homeland. He also appeared in films such as Son of a Woman, The Game, Carlito's Way, Independence Day, My Cousin Vinny, and Meet the Parents. He sadly passed away in 2014 as a result of melanoma, which he had battled since 1992. So that was a long fight with a melanoma. 92 to 2014, 12 years, man, that's rough. No, 22 years. My math is off.
Wow. All right. Olga Fonda, who plays Farah Lemkova, is a Russian-American film and television actress and model. She also is known for her role as Nadia Petrova in The Vampire Diaries that ran from 2013 to 2014. She continues to work in film and TV till this day. So I couldn't find anything else on her, apparently.
Yeah.
So apparently her work is not that big.
Yeah. And lastly, we have
John Gattens, Kingpin. Was there a person just named Kingpin there?
There was. He was the Mohawk dude at the zoo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a character. He's an American screenwriter, director, and actor for writing the drama film Flight 2012. He was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Original Screenplay. Gattens made his directorial debut by filming his screenplay for The Dreamer 2005, and also co-wrote Coach Carter Real 2005, Real Steel, 2011, Kong, Skull Island, and Power Rangers in 2017. As an actor, he has collaborated 3 times with Eddie Murphy on Norbit 2007, Meet Dave 2008, and 1,000 Worlds 2012. Let me tell you, the fact that he's done this man has a very split kind of a career, man, because I mean, Real Steel and what is this, Skull Island? Great.
Coach Carter too. Coach Carter is a great movie.
But then you got Norbit and Meet Dave.
Yeah.
Oh man,
That's a lot of different stuff right there in one shot.
Meet Dave is just a weird movie.
I looked at this. I was like, wait, am I seeing this right?
I mean, I'm just surprised I don't see like Pluto Nash in there.
Yeah.
Oh my god, man.
Along with these other Eddie Murphy movies.
Well, okay, that's pretty much everybody that was in the film that we can recognize. But
Right.
we're going to go into...
You forgot one pretty big person who is in that movie, who is kind of hidden, but has done a lot of work that people might know.
Okay.
That's Phil Lamar.
Okay.
I mean, it's a glorified cameo in the movie.
Yeah.
But Phil Lamar, I mean, come on, Futurama, and like Phil Lamar has done a lot of work.
Yes, he has.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in for fun.
Good. That's fine. But as we all know, this movie's been around since 2011. We all have a love for it. My question would be to you both: did you see this in the theater when it came out?
Yes.
I did not.
I didn't either. I only got to see it when it was on video.
I was late. I was late to this one. Yeah, I think I saw it once it hit like DVD.
Yeah, same here.
No, when I saw the coming attractions, I was like, fighting robots? I got to see this on the big screen. And I'm glad I did, because let me tell you, if you go to a really good theater, great sound, and I would say filmmaking was pretty good on it. So no, it's actually it's what I would call a nice popcorn experience.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but I'll add on to that too, that, you know, I do wish I got to see this in theaters, and I hope at some point maybe there's a re-release of it at some point. I don't know why they would, but you know, we've seen crazier movies get re-released into theaters, so I can hold out hope for it. And because I would go to see it. But even watching it at home on like a 60-inch television, you know, in high def, I want to say, like, technology wise, it kind of holds up.
Oh yeah.
The CGI is still really strong in this movie. It looks pretty seamless.
Yeah.
No, it was a combination of CGI and, of course,
And actual robotics, I think.
Yeah, actual robotics, animatronics, and all that stuff. So, but the blend of both of them were really, really good and seamless from what I see.
Yeah, it had a great look to it.
It's pretty strong. Yeah, I feel the same way. It's pretty strong when you, like I said, it's been 12 years? That's not a lot of time in Hollywood, but it's a lot of time for technology to advance in Hollywood. So it's still, I mean, very few movies still hold up in the amount of time. I think, like, if you look at movies from like the 90s, the only movie I can think of off the top of my head that still holds up to this day without any flaw is Jurassic Park.
Yeah, for CG. And that's one that started it all.
Well, I could find some faults in it.
I'm sure you can, but I mean, it's very similar to Real Steel in that it was a mix of CGI, although I think Jurassic Park was a lot more animatronic than it was CGI.
It's only when they were doing the
T-Rex,
the full dinosaurs, meaning like,
yes,
you had to see the whole thing. If it was just half a dinosaur, then it would have been like,
it was animatronic.
Yeah, like the Gallimimus and the T-Rex coming through the paddock. And that was a mix too at that point, split between.
Yeah.
But the one actual scene that resonates with me mostly with how seamless it is the bullfight in the very beginning.
Yeah.
That was like the way he winds up to go in, and with the people behind him, and the fact is, like, you're gonna have to have practical stuff because the robot's running. It looked like it was real sand or dirt that was like coming up from his feet as he was
Right.
charging the ball.
Well, and any scene in any part of that scene where there was actual physical connection to the animal was CG, because they were not going to do anything that would put any harm to an actual animal.
I think
So-
that bull, when it got hit, was CG. I don't think it was a real ball.
Yeah,
it
no,
would
that's
have to, no,
CG,
that's
yeah.
what I'm saying. That was
Yeah.
CG. They're not gonna physically harm an animal.
Right.
And that was
Unless you're
for
in
the sake of a
good.
movie.
Unless you're in Spain.
Unless what?
You're in Spain.
Well, even then, I don't think they would actually do it.
Well,
but
if
they
you're
might.
running with the bulls in Spain, you're the one that's going to
Right,
get
with
hit.
the bulls or bullfights, but
Yeah.
hey, no, I thought this. It's funny because my thoughts on this movie were, like I said, when it first came out, I thought it was just going to be rock and sock and robots,
Mhm.
because studios were, just having a field day with just kind of making any property into a movie. But then once I finished watching it, even though I still thought that's what it was, this was a movie with a lot of heart, which, and I'm one of those people that I hate when kids are kind of like a how can I say,
A crutch.
yeah, that and driving the film. And especially, I just hate that, because I'm like, when in real life do you see that? That being said, I did like the kids acting in certain parts were really great. I mean, he had that spunk, and I mean, for an 11-year-old, he had a lot of spunk. I mean, when I was 11, nobody I knew had that, like the chutzpah that this kid had. But that being said, I like the way he challenged Hugh Jackman's character and made Hugh Jackman basically see himself in this kid. And that was actually very well done writing. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie too, is the overarching story about everything is it really is a story about, like, yes, this is a fractured father and son relationship that is learning to heal itself as it goes. But it's also a story about a man in Charlie who he himself has forgotten who he is and becomes somebody else. And by the end, and through these interactions with his son, by the end of the movie, he himself is reminded of who he is, who he truly is. And that's one of my favorite, not skipping to the end a little bit too. Like I personally, I adore this movie. I will watch this movie any chance I get. Like, I've seen this movie so many times. I was telling Mark this. I didn't have to rewatch this movie to do this episode of the podcast, but I watched it anyway.
Yeah.
Because
No,
I adore it.
I just didn't like, I saw it maybe like 3 times before today, and I forgot how good this movie was. I mean, I know it was good, but it was just the kid part. And like, when I first saw it, I was like, I could do without the kid. And then like the second or third time I saw it, I was like, God, that kid is annoying. But as I saw it today, and I don't know, there was a part of me going, you know what? I'm now finally recognizing what the dynamic between them is and all that stuff. And like you were saying, this is just a man who basically had fame. He had it all. And because he did not get to that top, because he lost the fights that, that he had before, he was able also to relive that part of himself and kind of gain some, fame off of that, and kind of, find himself, which is great, because you could see that not only in the kid's face, but you also see it in Evangeline Lilly's character, where she finally sees the old person that he used to be. And that was a beautiful part right there.
Well, not only that. So I will freely admit this. I'm a huge sap. In that I am in my early 40s, approaching my mid 40s, and I will cry at the drop of a freaking dime to anything emotional in a movie. And it doesn't matter how many times I've seen this movie, the scene where where, you know, Charlie has his hands up when he takes control of Adam, and he has his hands up, and Max is telling him, like, you got to fight back. You got to fight back. He's like, not yet, not yet. And when he looks at Max and he says, you know what? Now, and starts swinging, like, there's a huge smile on my face, because, like, now I'm invested into everything that is happening in the scene. But in the moment when Max stops looking at Adam and sees Charlie,
he's just looking at Charlie throughout that whole scene.
I cry every freaking time at that scene. Every freaking time at that scene. And because there's so much heart and emotion in that scene. And then Rob, as you mentioned too, seeing Bailey.
Yeah, Bailey.
Yeah.
Seeing Bailey, also not only seeing Charlie, the real Charlie, come back for the first time, but seeing Max see Charlie for the first time, because she looks at both of them, and it's just this huge build of emotion that, like, everybody is finally seeing each other, including Charlie seeing himself again.
Yeah,
it's just, there's so much in that scene. I adore it. I love it so much.
Like you said, I like that scene too, because, like you were saying, when Max looks at him, my first thought was, it's like he's no longer looking at this man who is supposed to be his father by blood. He's finally seeing his father.
Yeah,
you know, he's probably saying, that's my dad, instead of that's Charlie, because he always calls him Charlie.
Yeah,
but I think at that moment he felt, wow, that's my dad. My dad used to be like this great fighter, and there he is again, or something like that. And at least he looked at him like with such pride too, which was great, because I mean, at first, you know, we all know the relationship wasn't the best in the beginning of the movie, but at that moment he just looked at him with such pride. And like you said, Bailey looked at both of them, and she noticed Max looking at him going, wow, he's finally seeing him as a father. And you could see that pride in Max's face. Like, he's so in awe of Charlie, like any child should be in awe of their father when they're that young.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, even in that scene, like, throughout the movie, there's this fractured relationship between Max and Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And so much so that Max is connecting with a robot. Like, he's going out and going on walks with this robot, and he's talking to this robot. He's befriending this robot who doesn't have a personality. It is literally just a robot, because of this fractured relationship he has with Charlie. But in that final scene, this is the first time he's looking past Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
To see Charlie. And it's just, it's so emotional. I love it.
And
it makes me want to watch the movie again when we're done recording, even though I just watched it.
But it's funny you say that as you gotten older, you know, of course you cry, because there were times that all of a sudden, like, my eyes were welling up, and I'm going, what is going on with me? What is this salty discharge coming out of my eyes?
Yeah.
Just do as I do and learn to accept it.
Yeah,
because it's gonna happen.
I feel the same way about it. The one thing though it does is the whole over arc of the whole movie is them learning to get to know each other, and through Charlie's past, unfortunately, by the end, that interferes to some degree. But we get, I think it's a better story compared to what they adapted this movie for, another movie that came out in '87. From Matheson's work, and it's really the story of you know, an absentee dad that comes in, and he has to sign over, and he has to go on this journey in a semi truck and do arm wrestling events.
I was gonna say, are you talking about Over the Top?
That's exactly what this is. That was adapted from the story arc of this particular book.
Was it really?
Yes. And they, I think this actually did it well, because I was really more annoyed with that kid in that particular movie.
That kid's a pain in the ass.
Hey, wasn't that like Sylvester Stallone's real? No, that wasn't real.
No. Stallone's real kid was in
Rocky. I know that.
No.
So I think No, his real son was in Rocky 4.
No,
Four.
and
Five.
4. And 5.
No.
Five.
Oh yes, I think he wasn't.
Tommy
Well, he
Gunn.
was. Yes, you're right. It was 5.
And
You're
then and then he was
And
also
then he was also in the movie Daylight.
Daylight. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember it was like he was in a bus with a bunch of people in the tunnel and he had to get him out or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
yeah, that wasn't his son, but even still, it's like I prefer this movie not just because of the robots and everything, but just the acting and how it was portrayed in the story actually made sense. But that one, well, it was
don't
the
get
80s.
me wrong. I love Over the Top. I think that is one of the greatest cheesy Stallone action movies that has ever been made. But at no point during Real Steel did I want to punch Max.
I can't wait for the sequel, Under the Bottom. So,
Um,
Arm wrestling underwater?
Well, let's talk about Max now, since we were talking about Max. How annoying he was. He almost gets him killed. And Ben, you mentioned it. The first time he almost gets himself killed is when they ruin. Charlie loses ambush, gets Noisy Boy, and then Noisy Boy needs parts after his little underground.
They're in the junkyard.
They're in the junkyard to get parts for Noisy Boy. That's how they were able to find Adam. But this kid just like takes a dive and literally almost goes an edge that goes like what, over 100 feet down.
Well, and that's how they find Adam is that Max is saved because there's an arm of Adam Adam is pretty much buried under mud. But there's an arm hanging out and it's what catches Max's belt. So that's, if not for Adam, Max is dead.
Yeah.
that was the first instance of child endangerment.
That was the first instance. Yes, it was. However, there is something about that scene though that I can really appreciate. It's not the fact that Max almost died. It's the fact that in that scene, when Charlie does come down to rescue Max, he is, the Charlie that we've seen up until this point is all about money. Mm-hmm. He's all about the money that he can make, the robots he can get to do it. Like immediately after he loses Noisy Boy, he's all about, we got to get another robot. He sneaks into this. The first instance of child endangerment is sneaking into this junkyard with Max to begin with.
They could both get arrested.
Because they can both get arrested at this point. But they're digging through parts and everything to try and find this. Like that's the priority. He's given Max the history of everything, which is giving us as the audience the history of everything. But he's still focused on the robot.
Yeah.
But once Max is endangered, that turns off for Charlie.
Yeah.
He's all about rescuing Max. Like even in that moment where he's telling Max, like, you need to turn, like, I will get you. He's not breaking eye contact with Max.
Oh yeah.
He is the fatherly instinct that he doesn't think he has kicked in.
Oh yeah, he did. And it happened again the second time during when he was getting his ass kicked by Ricky, because Ricky said and made a promise, I will beat you to an inch of your life. But they went after Max too at that point.
Well, and even Charlie had said, like, leave him out of this. Like, this is not his issue. I will argue that the connection between Max and Charlie is it's on its way to being established at that point.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes Charlie finally say, like, you need to go home. Because I can't put you, I can't endanger you like this. I can't endanger you like this.
Yeah.
So here's what I got out of all this. So, so basically, Max was put in a situation of breaking and entering, child endangerment, and gambling.
Yeah.
Okay.
Contributing to the delinquency of a minor.
Yes.
I mean,
let me write that one down too.
I mean, The zoo wasn't exactly the best environment for Max.
Yeah, there were a lot of people doing drugs there.
Even though Max is pretty much the one that steps up and takes a hold of that situation.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of makes you think, whoa, I would like to know what Max's life was before he met Charlie.
It makes me wonder, like, okay, who was his mom?
I know.
Where did she
But you know
take him?
what, though? That does, now that I think about it, there are a lot of similarities between this and Over the Top.
Yeah.
Because the mom dies in both movies. So yeah, so I can see exactly what you mentioned about how this is adapted from the same story.
Yeah.
Wow.
Although in Over the Top, we see the mom die.
Correct.
In this one, the mom is already dead.
He's already dead.
Correct.
Yeah. And the father doesn't try to sell his kid for $100,000.
That's right. Child, what is it? Child slavery.
Child trafficking.
Child trafficking. Hold on. I'm writing all this down.
And then the kid tries to get half the money from Charlie too in the beginning. Goes, I want my half. What did he give you?
You know, half of that is mine. You know, none of this is taking away my love for this movie.
Extortion is another thing.
Is another thing.
Wow. You know what? I'm liking this movie more and more now. All right.
So without Max, they wouldn't have gotten through all the stuff with Noisy Boy too, because he knew that the Argentinians wound up leaving the Japanese verbal commands in there, and then he was just like, and he started speaking Japanese. And then they realized, then they had to go. So it was with him he was able to get that.
I'd argue that Bailey would have figured that out.
Yeah,
because Bailey seems like a very intelligent person.
Yeah. Yeah, she knows her way around a wrench other than the boxing ring.
And you know what? And while we're talking about Bailey, I want to say too, I love the fact that Bailey takes to Max almost immediately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She has a good connection with him.
Yeah, it's almost like she feels sorry about the fact that Charlie's his father.
Yeah. And on top of that, you could see the glow in her eyes too when she's talking about Charlie and his old matches, and shows Max some of the like the magazine articles, news articles,
right,
and how he almost made it to the top. And you could see, they had a relationship, obviously, but
well, you could tell that she deeply loves this man. It's just that his behavior and past and all these things have gotten in the way of them to actually have a real relationship.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest things that actually, so I started thinking, I'm like, all right, Bailey wants to save the gym, but you never see anybody in the gym. It's not like you see
nobody there. It's dead.
It's dead. Why do you want to save something that is dead? And I understand that it's for her father.
Yeah.
But if you don't have a single person coming in, you're losing money because you're just paying rent for nothing.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you can tell it's been a while too, because even when she goes for those magazine articles and those newspaper articles to show Charlie, she pulls them from boxes that are in the ring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The ring is being used as storage.
Mm-hmm. So why keep the place? And I know it's sentimental value.
Right. Yeah.
But you would think that, okay, you know what? I have maybe, I don't know, 10 people that come in. It still doesn't cover the rent.
Yeah.
But they don't show a single person coming in. And that's a huge, huge spot. So the rent there is not cheap.
Yeah. Yeah. It's almost things. It seems like Bailey is hanging on to a past that isn't there anymore, but she's hopeful that it could come back, because when it does, in that Charlie, this is a past that she's hanging on to because Charlie is a person, as I mentioned, he's forgotten who he is.
Right.
Bailey has never forgotten who he is, but she's almost giving up hope that she's ever going to see that Charlie return.
Correct.
And then she does at the end of the movie, which is
which is great.
Which adds to that moment.
And I really do enjoy Evangeline Lilly's portrayal in this. At one point, I was like, I had it on in the background like a week ago. And the only reason why I brought up like covering this particular movie is because it's really a big hit on Netflix again. So
Is it really?
Yeah. So everybody's been pushing it. It shows up as just added or highly rated by
because
fans.
it's trending. I think it's still like in the top 10 or something like that being watched or something like that.
Yeah,
which is good.
People are making a comeback with it. I had it on in the background, and I'm like looking, and I just for a second I glanced over, and she was on the screen, and the first thing I thought of, and I'm like, wow, Lauren Cohan could be like her sister because they look very similar, both Evangeline Lilly and her. From I don't know why I just like it. I looked at it and going, wow, it's like wow. I wonder what it would be like if Lauren Cohan was actually.
She's a great crier.
Go ahead.
No, Evangeline Lilly.
Lilly.
I don't know if you ever seen her, like especially in Lost. Like I guarantee you that if somebody tells her, "All right, you have to cry on demand," and when they say action, she could just let the waterworks just because she's like in a lot of different things I've seen her. She always sheds a tear on something. And I'm like, you must like cry on command.
That's what an actress does, man.
That's their job.
Yeah. But she's like one of the few people that I think that as a crier, she still looks amazingly attractive. Like you got some ugly criers out there. She's not one of those.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. Attractive criers. That's I sense a new top 5 list coming.
That could be exactly. Top 5 criers of all time.
Yeah. Top 5 most attractive criers of all time.
Well, usually my top 5s have categories, so it'll be one of the categories has to be attractive, the other one has to be the most ugly crier.
Oh, jeez.
And the other one would be like crier who really does not look like they're really crying. They have to probably put like that solution they put on their eyes so it looks like it's crying. So.
and the worst crier of all.
I think the last one would be, and who would make you cry?
I don't have answers to any of these. God damn it. I'll put some more thought into it later.
I'm gonna have to write that down too.
Yeah. I'll put some more thought into it later.
That might be next week's podcast.
All right, back to Real Steel.
Back to Real Steel, yeah.
So, I want to say, like, in regards to the characters, in it, we talked about Bailey and obviously Charlie and Max too. Martin and Deborah.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what an interesting dynamic between the two of them, because you can tell like Deborah very much does care for Max.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But Marvin, I think, could care less. He sees Max as an inconvenience.
Yes.
Even saying like, look, we were supposed to take this trip to Italy this summer with my friends. He even says my friends, not our friends, or a trip to Italy with friends. It's his friends.
Yeah.
Max is an inconvenience. He's ruining plans, which is why he's willing to shell out $100,000 and come up with this whole plan for Max to spend the time, with Charlie.
Right.
So I'm very curious. It's funny because when movies end, sometimes you wonder what's going to happen with this story. Because if this is the last time that Max and Charlie get to spend together, that kind of saddens the ending a little bit. Because Charlie does go to Deborah and Marvin and say this one last time, and that's agreed upon. So if after this amazing emotional ending that we get, if you were to find out that this is the last time, kind of saddens it a little bit.
I think when he said one last time, I think it was one last time with the fighting stuff.
Oh, maybe you're right.
I think
maybe that makes a little more sense.
I think that's what they meant. But yeah, I think it would be sad if that was like the last time he saw him, which I don't think it is. I think they see that, hey, this kid has really attached himself to his own father, and his own father has finally come around acknowledge, hey, I have a child that I should really be giving my attention to. So I think it's hopefully in their best interest to say, you know what, he should be spending a lot more time with his own father. And I'm sure he, what is it? What's the guy's name again?
Marvin.
Marvin. I'm sure Marvin will be happy to just say like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, go ahead, spend time with him. Who cares?
Well, it's almost humorous too, because Martin and Deborah are in the audience for the final fight.
Yes, they
Correct.
And they're rooting them on. Like, I think like Deborah even at one point says, knock that bitch out.
Does she
Like
really?
she's getting into it. Yeah.
I got to see the movie again just for that.
Yeah.
Like she says something like, I think she's like says, knock that bitch out at some point or other. And I think it's during the part where Charlie has taken over Adam. So
Right.
she's getting it's you can see it's humorous to see her getting behind it too, which makes you wonder, is this the last time they're gonna do this robot
Right.
fighting thing?
I mean, I think in
Deborah's
a
into it.
case like that, I mean, especially look, as the audience in the movie theater, you get excited because even though probably in your mind you're going, okay, it's a movie, we know he might win, and if he doesn't win, he's just going to win the crowd. This is basically Rocky all over again. But you still cheer and you still get into it. I mean, it's like, so of course, if this in the real world was an actual event, I'm sure, anybody will get into it. I mean, even if you weren't a big fan.
Well, even so, funny story. So on Wilhelm, we do these episodes called movie swaps with my friend Kristen and I, and where we each give each other a movie we've never seen before for the opposite person to watch, and then we come on and we discuss it. And for one of the first episodes of the swaps, when we started doing them, I gave Kristen Real Steel. And she's like, is this something I can watch with my kids? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You can watch with your kids. In fact, I encourage it. And when she came on to talk about it, no lie, she said how much she loved the movie and that her kids were standing up in front of the TV, like mimicking the punches, like they were into the fight.
Right.
Just like Deborah, and just like you described, how in the audience we get behind this fight too. We're rooting for them.
Yeah, you're rooting for the underdog. It's like when you watch a Rocky movie, up until Rocky 4, when you watch a Rocky movie,
one of the best ones. It's okay to mention that one,
but you still root for Rocky. You know he's gonna win, but it's just still rooting for him because it's exciting. It's like you want him to win. You want him to not only win the fight, but probably win whatever obstacles he's been going throughout the entire fight or through the entire movie. You want them to succeed in not only the fight, but whatever, problems they had. So same thing with Real Steel. The problem what they had was, two estranged people that are trying to get to know each other, and you're fighting for that. You're rooting for that, but you're also rooting for this robot, which let's talk about Adam. Adam is just, I don't understand how Adam did not become a merchandising giant.
Right?
Because he has like the most soulful face you could possibly have on a stoic character like him.
Yeah.
It's so clever how they do that with Adam too, because you're right, because the blue eyes behind the great face is or the graded face is like very keen to that feature, but it's also very clever how on that graded face there are two scratches that almost make a mouth.
Yes.
Which adds to which adds character to that robot.
That was a phenomenal design. When I saw that, I was like, how clever can you actually, because basically he's just supposed to be a mesh face.
Yeah.
But to give him a nose and a mouth with and it looked like it was like a scratch or a stitching or something. I don't know what it was.
Charlie Brown etching of the.
Yeah, I think it was more like a welding thing. I don't know what it was. I just know that it gave him a personality. And I was like, wow, that was amazing design, whoever came up with that.
It almost makes it to the point where, Max befriends Adam, even though he is just a robot. But when you get to that point at the end of the movie, when Charlie is taking over and he's doing the watch me, I don't know. And he's looking and talking to Adam like, I don't know if you're in there. Like, you as audience members start to question that too. Like, well, does he have personality?
Yeah, they make you
Is he
question
more
it
than
when-
just a robot?
Yeah, they make you question it when they walk away. It was during the Zeus fight, the first Zeus fight that they visit, because they go into the stadium and they were supposed to be like a competition match, I guess. And they leave him there to charge, and you see him sitting there as they're walking away, but you're waiting for something to happen, like he's going to come to life or something.
I honestly thought that was probably one of the most clever things they did in this movie, which is they gave him they made you guess whether he is he conscious, or conscience, or does he have a conscience, or is he there? Because all the robots, you could tell, okay, they're all remotely operated.
Correct.
But in his case, and the great thing about it is that they show him looking at himself in a mirror.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, but I'm glad they never all of a sudden made him just come alive and go, nope, yeah, I am, I do have my
I'm a
own
real boy.
Yeah, I'm a real boy kind of thing. It was just, they kept you guessing throughout
Yeah.
the entire movie. Does this thing know that he's alive?
Well, and they kind of use that to kind of play into the connection between Charlie and Max too, because at one point when Max is walking outside with Adam, and he says, or when Max is walking outside with Adam, and he's questioning as to whether or not he can hear him, he says to him, "Your secret's safe with me," as if like, okay, if you're real, I'm not going to tell anybody.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, as I mentioned, like he found this connection originally with Adam, and then it switches and he sees through Adam to Charlie. The same thing happens with Max and Charlie at the end of the movie when they're in the ring and Charlie's like, look, I need you to know, like, I want you to know. No, I need you to know. And before he says anything, Max responds with, "Your secret's safe with me."
Yes.
The connection has transferred now.
Yes.
And it's and I love it. And getting back to an earlier point that you made too about rooting for them to win, when it comes down to the judge's card at the end, and you find out that Adam didn't win, and not Zeus. What's the name of their robot?
It is Zeus.
Is it Zeus?
It
is
Zeus.
Zeus.
That was
Zeus
Zeus.
is the main card. Yep.
Oh, I was confusing it with Midas, which is the other one.
Yeah.
That knocks out Noisy Boy. No, it's Zeus. When the winner is announced to be Zeus, Charlie and Max are smiling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in their minds,
They've
already won.
Yeah.
They won.
They knew they won.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's because they knew they won the match. They won because they have each other. Doesn't matter what the verdict was. Doesn't matter if Adam won. Like, doesn't matter what the people. But I mean, even besides that, like, it doesn't matter what the people think. Even they have each other. They've won. They've already won at that point. Yeah,
literally,
absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that was a nice moment, because it's like you said, they smiled at it because, one, they knew, listen, man, this was a long shot to begin with. I mean, we were lucky to get here at all.
Yeah.
But the fact that they got there all the way to the end, and you could see how close they got to everything. To them, it was just like, hey, this was just such a great ride. We're lucky to be here, and people like us, and you did all this yourself. I'm sure that's what he's saying to Max. So yeah, no, I think it's a phenomenal movie. Like I said, there were times that the little kid annoyed me a little too much, but there were those moments that he had, like even in the movie, he goes, "Are you kidding me with those eyes?" He knew, like, I was like, I don't know where they found this kid, but it's true. Like, he looks up at you and you're like, ah, shit.
It almost makes you think of Puss in Boots from the Shrek movie when he's holding the hat and he gives you those cat eyes. So yeah, it just, I adore this movie so much. I know some people might say it's because of my love for Hugh Jackman, and that definitely adds to it because he's just a phenomenal actor, in my opinion. but it goes so much past that with just the emotion and the story that is told with these characters. And now that I know it's in relation to Over the Top, it doesn't skew it at all.
Yeah.
The
skew it
one
at
thing I actually did like about the whole movie is the cinematic, all the scenes, how the cinematography was in it, and then the scenes that we do get, because you see the big differences between the underground boxing that they have to do, like with when Noisy Boy has to go against Midas and gets his ass kicked. And then that's like underground. You see Finn for the first time. You see Charlie's relationship, but the way it looks, because it looks like an old factory. And then we move into, once they do get Adam and Charlie wants to get up, they go to the zoo. And the zoo, to me, it's outside, it's open, just like with the bullfight, but in this case, an abandoned zoo that looks like the Catskill Game Farm. And how open it is, and the cinematography just alone with the CGI in it for those scenes, how bright they are, including the little workout that we do get with Charlie and Adam at one point outside the hotel. So I just love how the different colors, the different scenes, and the dynamics of it really rang through at me with the visual parts of it.
Well, I'll even go a little bit past that too, and say there are particular scenes that are just phenomenally, like stills that are phenomenally done. Like one of my favorite shots from this entire movie is after Charlie takes over for Adam, and he does that leaping punch.
Mm-hmm.
What they call the Superman punch.
When he does the Superman punch, to see Adam doing it, but to get the background image of Hugh Jackman in the background doing it as well. Yeah. It's such a great shot, like just a great still.
Oh, they had great shots, yeah.
Yeah, I would make that like my wallpaper on my computer. Like that's how much I enjoyed that shot.
It was, it's like Mark, like you were saying, it's interesting to see the differences between, because in the real world, I mean, when you watch underground fighting, amateur boxing, things like that, it's so gritty compared to the glamour of Las Vegas and, and those big title fights and all those things.
Yeah.
But the one thing I guess you don't see is like the hungriness of like these fighters, because when in underground fighting, these are guys that are doing it for the love of the sport.
Yeah.
And hopefully try to get, a title, match and stuff like that. Over here is not that. I mean, over here is more like the betting part of it, because of course these robots are not real, or they don't have any feelings. And so everybody sees them as just a tool, but they worship this tool when they see it coming, down, and like the hallway or something like that. They're like, oh, look, they're so-and-so, even though they don't. How it's interesting. They kind of admire the robot, but not to the point where they think it's a living person. Thing.
Yeah, they don't idolize it as like a deity or.
But I would love to know. I would love to know. Like the one interesting part of the whole movie is, I mean, they say, okay, people enjoyed robot fighting because there was more carnage compared to real fights, right? I would love to know how that part of the industry affects the world. Like, are there factories making
multiple
robot fighters, or are they using robots for other things other than fighting? There's like a lot of layers there that I'm sure we have yet to uncover of this world, which would be pretty cool, because like you said, there was a factory, but while those fighters, while the robots were walking down, you got to see like all these, what I would call robotic arms in a row on each side. So was that a factory to build robots, or is that a car factory, like an abandoned car? Like there's something there. I would love to know what it is.
That seemed to me almost like, because I was thinking about that too. That factory there seemed almost like an old automobile factory.
Yeah.
That they
Right.
turned into an underground robot fighting.
But it could have been an
robot
old
fighting arena.
It could have been an old robotic factory, like robots creating robots.
Possibly.
True. Because I mean, I think the movie is supposed to take place in 2020. Even though it came out in 2012, I think it's supposed to take place in 2020.
Yeah, they mentioned something in 2014. I think
they
it
did
was
mention 2014. Yeah, you're right.
Was it when Max when Charlie was fighting or something? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
I think,
And that's one of the things that like is also like a little bit of a deeper element as well, is that when Charlie's telling the story about like how he was a boxer and he got his ass kicked, you know, and but he was still there, and then everything kind of transitioned away from using humans and into robots. It's the one thing, like, it kind of shines a light on, like, yes, you created robot fighting because there's more carnage and but you lost the human element.
Mm-hmm.
And when Charlie brought the human element back in, they were not prepared for it.
Correct. Absolutely. No, because and you could see it in what was the guy's name? The guy who was the Japanese guy who I guess was the programmer or the designer.
I think he was the designer. He is Tak Mashido.
Yes.
Tak Mashido, like you could see that he did not know how to deal with any of that. Like,
no,
whoa, wait a minute. Yeah.
Because even when he tries to fight back and goes into manual mode, he's failing.
Yes.
So much so that he punches the screen when the fight is over.
Yeah.
Which I thought was hilarious.
So maybe in Real Steel 2, we'll see more of the human element. They'll probably say, okay, you know what? Instead of it being just like a bunch of like, I don't know, a bunch of geeks behind on joysticks and all these things, maybe now it's like, oh, now we're bringing back fighters where we do this
AI.
Well, no, meaning like, so they had that shadow, what they call it, a shadow program.
That
shadow boxing program in Atom.
Mhm.
They'll probably bring more of that into some of the new robots. And now you get fighters to come back and basically do exactly what Charlie was doing.
No, forget that. I want Pacific Rim. I want them in the robots.
Well, honestly, if you look at that whole shadow boxing thing, it's as if like, Adam became Charlie's avatar in the ring.
Yeah, I mean, but it was fantastic. What I liked about all that was also every time they did some kind of gesture outside of boxing, Adam was still imitating.
Oh yeah, the dancing with Max outside, and then how they use that as a gimmick for his intro, because even Charlie says it to him. It's like, oh, the big boxers used to do it. Look,
right,
and then he listed all of them, like,
I think that's the part I wasn't really keen on, was the dancing in the arena. I was like, all right, I could do without this.
I was okay with it. I was like, it is what it is.
They wanted to put that Apollo Creed in there for you.
I did just learn something interesting about the movie that I did not know. And Mark, I don't know if it's in your notes for later too. But the beginning of the movie, when Charlie is at the rodeo fighting the bull, and those three little girls walk up to him.
Oh, for $5 to take a picture with Amber.
Yeah, those three girls.
Yeah,
are Sean Levy's daughters.
Oh, really?
Really?
All three of those little girls are Sean Levy's daughters.
That's pretty funny.
Sophie.
Hey, kid, can I get the leg back? $5.
Booyah. Big sister, little sister, and littlest sister.
Oh my goodness.
Big sister is Sophie Levi, who's Levy, who's actually been in Free Guy and Night at the Museum as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
So he puts his daughters in some of his movies, which is fun.
That's fantastic, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I would say this, the one thing that we really forgot, so we mentioned all these great actors in the movie, but we can't forget the fact that Sugar Ray Leonard was the one who trained Hugh Jackman on how to box. and I believe he was also the stand-in for Adam.
I think I knew about Hugh Jackman. Yeah, I think he was a he was a coordinate. He was the boxing coordinator for the movie.
Wow.
Correct.
So for Hugh Jackman, for the robots, like he was the guy they went to for the boxing tips.
That's cool.
So yeah, I mean, you have to mention him because honestly, I think having an authentic fighting style for boxing made a huge difference in this movie.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with that completely. While we're talking about other characters and other people, you know, we kind of mentioned him by name. I get a kick out of seeing Kevin Durand as Ricky because he is a character you absolutely hate or you're meant to hate. But it's hard for me to hate him because I know Kevin. And he is not that guy at all. And it's one of the things, it's one of my favorite parts of Hollywood is sometimes the guys who play the worst people on screen are really truly the nicest people in person.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like your friend Swamp Thing.
Oh, MC Gainey. Yeah.
It's really funny.
MC Gainey is one of the nicest guys, and MC Gainey and actually MC Gainey and Kevin Durand are friends. It's thanks to Kevin that MC came on Wilhelm. But yeah, Kevin's been on 3 times, and every time he's just incredibly nice. He's incredibly funny. He's not that guy at all. So every time I watch him play some kind of a villain, I always get a kick out of it because I know he's not that person.
Yeah.
And there are certain lines, like even this time around, even since watching Real Steel, since meeting Kevin, there are certain lines that he says in Real Steel, and I can't remember any of them off the top of my head. They're during that rodeo scene.
Oh, yeah.
There are certain lines that he says that as an audience member, you're supposed to hear it and be like, God, what a dick. And I hear them and just laugh because they're funny to me.
Yeah, he always, there, like you was just saying, there's always, you know, these guys. There's some great character actors out there, and sometimes they get kind of pigeonholed into like one particular type of style, and they do such a great job at it. But in the end, I mean, listen, it's they're working actors and they're just human beings, just like the rest of us.
Yeah, yeah. It's just it's the guys that lean into it and have fun with it.
Yeah,
that are the guys I really like. I mean, like, and Kevin doesn't always play those characters. Like you mentioned, you mentioned Robin Hood, where he played Little John. Little John obviously is not a villain. He's with MC Gainey. Him and MC Gainey are together in Wild Hogs.
Yep,
where they're on the bad biker gang, but they're literally just idiots. So, I mean, he's a guy that leans into those kind of characters and he just has fun with it. And I love when I see that on screen. So as much as Ricky is a horrible character, I still kind of enjoy him in this movie. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Well, most actors usually say that the best parts to play are usually the bad guys because you get to really explore way further than who you really are. But you could kind of like, take it a little over the top sometimes too.
Yeah. That's another over the top reference for this podcast.
I'm telling you, over the top too, under the bottom.
Under the bottom.
Under the bottom.
Ooh, Stallone versus Hugh Jackman.
How about Stallone versus Adam?
I could see that.
Stallone is still gonna win. I know it because hey, it's Stallone. So.
Oh man, I really don't know what else I can really say about
the
movie. I just, again, I'll repeat it till I'm blue in the face. I adore this movie so much, and I will watch it every opportunity I get to watch it.
By the way, there was a video game release because of this.
Yes.
There was?
Yeah, there was.
On an Android and iOS devices. So it was like phone type of a game, but yeah, it was based off of the movie.
Okay.
It was right around the time the smartphone was booming that year.
Right.
The year it came out. That's probably why. It's like, here, play this game. It's from the movie.
Oh, an arcade game was also released.
I would play an arcade game of it.
Yeah.
That is Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the video game.
Yeah. Or they could do a PS4 or Xbox or PS5 or Xbox style game too. Well, if they're going to do the new movie, that's usually something that they always collaborate with.
Yeah, but sometimes video games of the movies don't always work out. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Most of the time, video games of movies don't often work out.
Yeah.
That is true.
That is true.
I can't really think of many off the top of my head that were good.
Star Wars.
Neither. But
Yeah, some of the Star Wars video games have been pretty awesome.
Yeah. And then there's some that you're like,
Yeah. But they've also made a lot of attempts at Star Wars games, so they had to find some kind of success eventually.
correct. Yeah, no, exactly. No, you can't just say, "Oh, listen, the first time around, it should have been, perfect."
Yeah.
But
yeah. All right. I guess we're good with all our comments and discussion on this. All right.
I'm pretty satisfied.
Cool. So
by the
let's
way, Hugh Jackman won a People's Choice Award for this movie for favorite actor on this, and Dakota Goyo also won a Young Artist Award.
Huh.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So,
Cool.
so at least I got something out of it.
And I already know if the day ever comes I get to have a conversation with Hugh Jackman, there's so many things I can bring up to him. This will be one of the first two things I bring up.
Oh yeah.
This and Greatest Showman. I mean, look, I love Wolverine, but come on. Might change after Deadpool 3. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, it's still Wolverine.
I can't wait to see that movie, man.
Me neither.
Same here. Want to see it. All right. Well, I guess we can move right along into the last factor of this particular podcast, which would be interesting facts or unknown facts about the movie. And I think you guys actually spoke about a couple of things that we would be talking about. So it limits it to, which is fine because this went pretty long anyway. But I'll start with the first one, which is each of the robots were built both in real life and CGI. For certain shots with animatronics, they were controlled by more than 20 puppeteers.
That's pretty normal.
It is normal within any of these kind of movies.
Does it say who actually built those?
No, I didn't.
Oh, wait, hold on.
get-
Oh,
Stan
Winston Studios.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
If I would have had to have guessed, like I had Grant Imahara in my head.
Oh, wow.
But Stan Winston makes a lot of sense.
Makes
too.
a lot of sense, yeah.
Actually, I stand corrected. So Jason Matthews of Legacy Effects, successor to Stan Winston Studios, was hired to turn to production design. Wow. Okay. Adam has RC radio control hands as well.
Wow. The next one? Anybody want to take it?
I can take it. That's
All
fine. As announced at the rodeo in the beginning of the movie, director Sean Levy confirmed that the film takes place in 2020. Yeah, we talked about this. He stated in an interview, the whole reason it's 2020 and not further in the future is because I knew this movie was going to be an underdog story and I didn't want the distant futurism of extreme science fiction. I wanted the world to feel really familiar so that the characters would really feel relatable. The cell phone we used 5 or 10 years ago looks different from today, but a diner still looks like a diner.
Very true.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and that's a great way to approach it.
Number 3.
Well,
Like I
you
was
already
saying
mentioned
before.
it.
Yeah, like I was saying before, much of the robot boxing fights were motion captured using professional boxers supervised by Sugar Ray Leonard. I thought it was actually Sugar Ray Leonard, but that's pretty cool. He was I knew he was in there somewhere.
There you go. Next up, Noisy Boy Robot has LEDs on its fist that spell out in Japanese characters words like doom, pain, oblivion, the end, etc.
I did not know that.
I didn't
I
know
did
that
not.
either.
And number 5 was the one that I brought up. We're getting the ones that we brought up ourselves, which
Yeah,
is
I know.
very weird. Sophie Levy, Tess Levy, Charlie Levy, the 3 girls who asked to see Ambush in the beginning of the movie and try to take a picture, are Sean Levy's daughters.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
fun.
So that's about it.
Where are they
I didn't
now?
really grab that many.
What did you say? Where are they now?
Yeah.
At home with Sean, probably.
Or waiting to be in the next Real Steel 2.
Well, I mean, again, I mentioned that, his daughter Sophie was in Free Guy and Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian. So she's still doing stuff. Maybe that's her way of kind of getting into it.
Yeah.
A little bit. Because I think she is still relatively young. I think she's still a teenager.
Yeah, they look like teenagers on the cast images that I have here. But yeah. All right. I don't have any quotes really. I'm pretty sure there's a whole bunch of them.
I don't have a lot. I mentioned the one quote during the match when, Charlie keeps saying not yet, not yet.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Hey Max, now," and then he does that. The only other quote I have is one that comes from Kingpin. And it's right before the match at the zoo starts. And he says, "Let's get it on like ping pong in Hong Kong." I'm like, okay, there's a reason why you're not an actor and you're a producer.
Oh,
but it was funny.
I only have 2 in here. One would be from Deborah, and that's at the courthouse when Charlie walks in. He goes, "Yeah, I have to sign some papers and stuff." And then he looks at Deborah, and she goes, "Charlie," and he goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Yeah, Charlie, the kid. You've been working with those robots for so long. You are one." When he didn't want to talk to the kid,
which is oddly kind of very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he loses himself in a world where he really doesn't have to deal with anybody's emotions and things like that. So yeah, no, it's
he's a drunk in the very beginning. He wakes up with a hangover and doesn't even know who he's talking to. And then somebody calls him up looking for their money, and he says another name. He goes, "Wait, you owe him money too?
You better pay me first."
The one other that I have here would be Finn to Charlie at the Zeus match when he because they wanted to put Adam in a up and coming match or try to get him into the starter matches for the event. And Finn just goes, "As much as I like you, Charlie, you're a bad bet, brother." Meaning that Finn knew him very well in a sense that you're not gonna make any money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene too, because you could tell like Anthony Mackie's characters, he does like him. I mean, as soon as he saw him, coming in, he recognized him and he was just kind of like happy to see him, but he just knows, man, dude. As
I'm
much
gonna
as
make
I
money
like
off
you,
of you.
more like as much as I like you, dude, you got to get your life together, man, because you. So that's why he was saying you're a bad bet.
Yeah. I also like during the match, or after they win their first league fight, when Max takes the microphone, he's like, "This one goes out to a special lady who shall not be named, Farah Lemkova." I'm like, man, like this kid's got some chops.
Like I said, those were the parts that annoyed me more. I was like, come on. I was like, when I grew up, I wasn't like that.
Snot nose kid.
Exactly.
Accurate.
All right. Well, we're at the end of the podcast. So, but this is where I ask you guys, where can listeners hear you? Plug away.
Rob, why don't you go first?
You could listen to me anywhere you like. No, I'm on Fantasy Picks Movie Edition, the podcast that actually takes big budget film movies that failed at the box office or with critics, and we try to fan cast it ourselves and try to make it better. In other words, we play armchair filmmakers and see if we could actually do a better job than the real ones. We also do our top 5 draft, which is always great and is a lot of fun. And we also now have a new segment for highlighting some of these great film composers that are out there. One of them being Danny Elfman, who we just covered and also did Real Steel. So, yeah. So you could catch us on any podcast platform out there. We're around. We're like a tick. We're just around and annoying.
Have you guys covered Giacchino yet over there?
Not
Michael
yet.
Giacchino? Okay.
Not yet. So far, like I said, it's been Hans Zimmer and Danny Elfman. Our next one is probably going to be we're thinking either Jerry Goldsmith or something like that. So, but yeah, we'll definitely get to him because he has really made some amazing, and I think my favorite one that he's done so far is the Batman.
The last probably 7, 8, no, not even, I'd say like 10 to 15 years, because he really found popularity with Lost, and then since then has hopped into Marvel, and Giacchino is just. And then at some point, of course, you have to talk about the maestro himself, John Williams.
Yeah,
we're kind of leaving him for last.
Makes a lot of sense.
So, but no, and the great thing about Giacchino is that he did his directorial debut with Werewolf by Night.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. I forgot he did direct that.
Yeah. So, and if you can, you have to watch the behind the scenes of Werewolf by Night, because it really goes into his life and how when he grew up, he used to make movies with his friends when he was, a kid. So he's really, really more of what I would say a filmmaker, even though he is a composer, but he's really a filmmaker because it reminded me of Steven Spielberg. To that point, because Steven Spielberg has mentioned so many times, or like any director, really, I think when they grew up in the 40s, 50s, 60s and stuff like that, they would take a Super 8 camera and they would start making their own movies. He was the same way, so I think that's pretty cool.
I used to work for a radio station here in Philadelphia, and though the morning show there, who I'm still friends with, those guys are friends with Michael. And they've been to Michael's house, because Michael has invited them into studio to hear him compose,
right,
and such. And they said that his backyard is literally an homage to film pop culture. Like he has an Ark of the Covenant in the backyard. Like he has all these homages to films that are just so. What you're saying, like about him being a filmmaker, makes a lot of sense. And I've actually reached out to his publicist to try and get him on the podcast, and which I'll plug in a second. But his publicist came back to me and said, I don't want this to be he's not interested. He is just incredibly busy.
Yeah.
He is working on no less than 4 or 5 films at a time.
Oh, I could imagine. I mean, he's blown up. I mean, he's definitely blown up.
So, yeah. But I mentioned my podcast, so I might as well talk about that now. Host of the Wilhelm podcast. Easiest way to find me is wilhelmpodcast.com, or you can find Wilhelm wherever you find podcasts. Very similarly to yours, we do the top 5. We do movie swaps with my friend Kristen and I. Mark and I are currently covering Monarch: Legacy of Monsters, which, Rob, you were just on with us to do that as well. And I do a bunch of celebrity interviews over there as well. I mentioned Kevin Durant and a couple other people that, have been on. Coming up, Dante Basco is going to be joining me, who played Rufio in Hook. I'm working on Jason Mantzoukas at the current moment. I'm basically rescheduling a lot of interviews I had set up before they went on strike.
Yeah.
So trying to get them rescheduled to come back on. And I mentioned Giacchino, who I've tried, and unfortunately I probably don't think it's ever going to happen, but it is what it is.
It's worth a shot.
Yeah. Look, you never know until you ask. So
that is.
Hey, listen, my celebrity guests are going to be basically sock puppets. So I'm just going to take a sock puppet and make it look like every celebrity I ever want to, interview.
There you go. And then I'll also make quick mention too, if you're a Ted Lasso fan, my other podcast, which I do with my friend Kristen, we are currently revisiting the television show Ted Lasso, covering a new episode every week. Revisitedpod.com is where you can find that one. And that's everything.
Awesome. And as always, you could hear me right here at Adrenaline Cinema Podcast. As always, you could hear me also on Panels to Pixels podcast as well. Look forward to us doing What If when that comes out on Disney Plus. So we'll be doing that coverage soon. Coming up here, look forward to possibly Night of the Comet and Friday the 13th, the final chapter, as well as a couple others that I have in the works. So you'll be apprised about those when they actually do show up on Facebook. I haven't done much promotion lately for these. Usually it's whatever's been coming up and what we could get out to you. But
oh, great! So you're gonna have Rob and I on this awesome podcast about Real Steel, and you're not even gonna promote it. That makes us feel great.
It'll be promoted. It'll be out already.
I'm kidding. Look, it's not a podcast with me if I don't pick on you while I'm here.
I know that. And you could hear more of that on Monarch when we cover Monarch.
Yeah.
All right. But all you guys have to do, if you do want to send any feedback, all you have to do is go to the Facebook page, which would be facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. It's also linked to our Instagram account. So whatever you see there, you see on Instagram. So literally all you have to do is follow us on facebook.com/AdrenalineCinemaPodcast or on Instagram @AdrenalineCinemaPodcast. If you feel the need to just email us your feedback, that's great because we could easily just read out your texted feedback on the podcast when we cover that particular movie, or if anything that we've done in the past. We'll gladly read it. You could just send that to AdrenalineCinemaPodcast@gmail.com. You could also record yourself with the cool, nifty devices that we have nowadays. Every phone, tablet, even computer now, you can record yourself and just attach that audio recording to the email as an attachment, and we'll just, play it. As always, I always ask everybody, try to give us like some sort of rating or review of, for whatever platform that where you're actually listening to us, like Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Those are the two preferable formats that people generally do ratings for, and people look at to see if the podcast is good or not. But I always tell everybody, be honest. It's always fun. But,
and I would challenge you. If you are going to send to the people out there, if you are going to send a recording, send it in a cassette. That would be awesome.
You can't even find a cassette player anymore.
And for us old school people, an 8-track.
Oh my God.
Watch Mark all of a sudden when they go, somebody sent me a review on an 8-track. How the hell do I play this?
That's even if they're able to mail it to me. They got to find my address.
Who the hell had time to create a vinyl record of their feedback?
Well, actually, you can do that online nowadays. I've noticed.
I know you can.
You can have anything
really?
personalized.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's not long. I think it's only like a couple minutes max, because they're the smaller ones.
Like the little 45s or something?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm going to start singing, even though I don't know how to sing.
Oh, no. Actually, I think you can create a full.
I've seen where there was a full one. Yeah, a full album.
But I think you're limited to like a certain number of songs, though.
Or minutes. So, yeah. Actually, it could be anything.
Or minutes. Yeah. I think it's minutes.
Yeah.
Well, you heard him. He'll either take cassette, 8-track, vinyl, digital. Hell, if you could put something on a bird and fly it in, sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Vinylfy is one of the sites that does it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes of music, 10 per side.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I just want to thank Ben and Rob for being on, having a good time and having fun talking about this particular movie. Thanks for being on, guys. And I want to thank everybody else for listening. So this was Adrenaline Cinema Podcast, and we'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.